What I like about this show is that it doesn't really matter what I think because Dave's just going to put them wherever he wants anyway. All right, fine.
Squawka have asked us to rank every player who's played in the Premier League this season for Tottenham from worst to best. So here we go. I am joined by Barnaby Slater from Spurverts.
Well,
what is Spurverts?
I have an Instagram page called Spurverts where more sporadically than I'd like, I update it with the Spurs news and when I'm at the games, speak to some people, that kind of stuff.
Excellent. Before we dive in though, I think we've got to set ourselves a little bit of criteria. I'm saying that we rank them by form at the moment.
Yeah.
If there's a draw, past experience maybe.
Okay.
And then maybe off the field incidences, similar to the Ballon d'Or. What do you reckon? Decent?
Okay. Yeah, sounds absolutely fine. I'm slightly worried that we're not going to find anyone in form. That's the only problem.
Okay. All right, let's get started. First up, worst. Who are we going to go with?
In terms of, it's difficult actually because we talk about in terms of form, but also quite a few of these players haven't really played that much. So I'm going to go in terms of worst for Oliver Skipp.
Harsh.
On the basis that he's very rarely played, and when he does, he's a bit sideways and backwards.
But you're ranking him above someone like Hugo Lloris.
Yes, I am.
A guy that's made the most errors leading to goals as a goalkeeper in the Premier League.
Yeah, I can see.
He dislocated his own elbow after parrying a ball to Brighton as Aaron Connolly to score the first goal of the game. And you're putting him above Oliver Skipp.
Well,
in my opinion,
this is where I feel I'm different to your average Twitter Spurs supporter, who of course has gone all in on Hugo. He's the worst goalkeeper we've ever had. He's the worst goalkeeper in the world. But for me, what goes forgotten when talking just about statistics is some of the saves that he has made. Okay. And the fact that for me, he's a leader. And I'm not just going to go in on him because he's made a few mistakes. He's also saved us a lot.
He's a leader of a Spurs team that looks devoid of leaders this season.
Well, he's injured now, so we're especially devoid of leaders right now. But yes, in answer to your question, Skippy's going at the bottom just because he hasn't played much. He's a bit sideways and backwards. And he's just a kid. His time will come.
I think harsh. I think we've got to get Lloris in the mix down there. I think he's got to be in there. Is there anyone worse than Lloris on this list? I don't think so.
What I like about this show is that it doesn't really matter what I think because Dave's just going to put them wherever he wants anyway. All right, fine. Because he's got a dislocated elbow and he threw a couple in, we'll get Hugo down there. Well, why we talk about it? Why don't we talk about when he drank drive and vomited in his own car? Let's put him right down there.
Well, that was also mentioned off the field incidents, and Hugo Lloris hasn't had a great time in the last 12 months. No. Another reason to put him near the bottom.
But what I will say is I'm still backing him to come back and lead us to glory.
But then that also puts in someone like Gazzaniga, who made 12 saves against Liverpool, the most of any goalkeepers managed since David De Gea in 2017 against Arsenal. But I think Gazzaniga's done all right for you. So maybe like a mid-table position at the moment. We'll just put him in.
Let's leave him mid-table for now. What I say about Gazzaniga is, again, a lot of the online Spurs support are saying, he's better than Hugo, he's got to go. And for me, we have goalkeeper coaches for a reason. They see them every single day. There is a reason why Hugo is in front of Gazzaniga. For me, the fact that he made, how many saves did you say?
12
against
saves. Liverpool.
The reason he made 12 saves is because our defence was so poor.
Okay.
In the same way that De Gea made all those saves.
Who are we going? So let's do centre-backs first. We've got Vertonghen, we've got Alderweireld, and of course, we've got Davinson Sanchez up here. Yeah. Out of those, who are you going for?
What, in terms of lower?
Yeah, I don't think they're lower than Gazzaniga, but we could talk through. First up, Vertonghen this season. This form at the moment.
The difficulty I have with Vertonghen and Alderweireld at the moment, I think they're amazing players. I think they're great players. But for me, when your contract is running down and you've got your contracts out at the end of the season, it's marginal gains. For me, at least 1% of each of those players will be like, if I get an ACL now, I won't have a contract next season. So even if they've just dropped off 1%, 2%, which I'd say probably Vertonghen and Alderweireld have slightly, then it really affects the team, and I think that's the reason. So I'd put them together somewhere about where they are at the moment. That looks all right.
I think in terms of Vertonghen, interesting stats is dual win rate this season has been atrocious. Less than Vestergaard, Southampton's defender, and they conceded 9 against Leicester City. A little bit of a worry. Alderweireld doesn't look like the same Alderweireld. And then Davinson Sanchez has played something like 81 minutes in the Premier League this season and had an error leading to a shot in that game. I'm a big fan of Davinson Sanchez, but
he'll get there.
It doesn't seem like Pochettino trusts him at the moment.
I think the thing with Big Dave, as I like to call him,
Big Dave,
Davinson Sanchez, is if you remember when you were in the UEFA Cup final, United against Ajax, Jose Mourinho really picked him out as the player who couldn't really pass the ball, get the ball out of defence, and I think that's probably something Poch sees in him as well because we keep going with this trying to pass it from as deep as we possibly can, often on our own goal line. Big Dave doesn't look that comfortable, but like you said, I like him as well. I think he will come really good. And once Toby and Jan eventually leave, I think he'll come in and be a mainstay.
I think a lot of the problems for Spurs, especially in the centre-back position, is Sanchez is the future. at the moment you've got two players that don't want to sign deals and want to leave.
Yeah.
Like maybe at the start of the season, it should have been those two guys have just got to leave. They've got to go. Going to get Sanchez in, buy him a partner.
Yeah.
Or even someone like an Eric Dyer. Where's Eric Dyer going to fit in this?
Well,
again,
Eric Dyer hasn't played, and when he did play, he couldn't trap the ball. So I'd have him just above Hugo down here, to be honest. He honestly couldn't trap the ball. It was odd. I love Eric Dyer, and I think he's one of those players, and I think it's not helped by the fact he's quite a big guy. He needs games. He needs games to get back
that fitness
that form.
up. Needs to be getting back into form.
What I think we should talk about, though, is the fullbacks, because as Roy Keane said at the weekend, Dumb and Dumber, Danny Rose and Serge Aurier. Danny Rose, we left him off the preseason tour because we wanted him to leave so much. And he couldn't get a club. I think that's the same with Alderweireld and Vertonghen. I think they wanted them to get clubs, but they didn't. But Rose, and particularly Aurier, for me, I'd have Aurier just above Skip, frankly. In fact, if we could...
So you're going to dump him above? You see, I have a massive agenda against Serge Aurier because he keeps costing me fantasy football points. First up, he scores, gets VAR'd, 12 points to 3 points. Then loses his head. Next week, gets sent off. So for me, I'm game.
That's a really interesting point, though, for me, because that was at the game against Leicester. We're 1-0 up.
Really
scores the second. It really swung the game and our whole season. Because I think if we win that game, we go into the midweek game against Colchester, we probably turn them over, and suddenly, it's looking good. It's looking good. So it's really small margins. But I'll tell you what's not a small margin is Serge Aurier, the most maverick right back I've ever seen, and should never be seen near our first team again.
I think the interesting sign with him, I think he's got the attributes to be a good right back.
Yeah.
He's quick, he's good on the ball, he's a good dribbler. He just doesn't have the brain.
Well, he's stupid. The man is stupid. I mean, he got sent off a few weeks ago in the Premier League, and then in the game against Bayern, just 3 days later, he went double studs in on someone. Should have been sent off again. The man is completely ridiculous.
Without talking about how many times Serge Gnabry twisted him up in the penalty area, but we've got Serge Aurier is now the second worst Spurs player in current form this season.
I'd actually quite like him to go below Skip. I just don't want it to be hard for the producer to do, but I've realised...
Below Skip?
Yeah, right. Aurier really annoys me.
That is harsh. And for me, Hugo Lloris is bottom, but he's bottom three. That's okay with me. Okay. So we've got Danny Rose. The moment he's above Gazaniga.
No.
Danny Rose last season in the Champions League I thought was phenomenal in the knockout stages. Mm-hmm. But this season he has been rubbish.
He had a poor game the other day, certainly. I don't think he's been as bad as some of the Spurs fans have said, and certainly not as bad as Aurier. He still gets up and down. His final ball is poor, I have to say. Since Kyle Walker left, it's really shown how much we benefited from Walker, who I wouldn't ever say has the greatest delivery of all time, but he was decent. He knew when to cut it back.
Yeah.
But Danny's just really dropped off the ball, and I think there's definitely stuff going on within the club and Danny Rose that we don't know about.
So that at the moment we've got two centre backs, a left back that we don't really know what is happening with.
Yeah,
Hugo Lloris, where we don't know where his head's at, where his elbow's ever going to be again.
Yeah, I'd have Rose just above Dyer and below Alderweireld and Vertonghen, to be honest. I think there's going to be a lot of change at Spurs. It feels a bit like a game of Football Manager. Do you have enough time in the window to get everybody out and everybody in that you want to come in? But it'll be interesting to see when Lo Celso starts getting fit, whether he'll come in for Eriksen, when Sessegnon starts getting fit.
Sessegnon isn't even here because he doesn't qualify with the minutes played.
Hasn't played.
Yet he's not tactically ready. Again, I think that is an issue for Pochettino because we've mentioned the form of Danny Rose.
Yeah.
Surely Ryan Sessegnon at left back, he may make a few mistakes.
Yeah.
But he's probably quick enough to get back and cover himself up with those problems. Doesn't make any sense why he's not played, but Pochettino's a good manager. We know that Poch knows his players better.
He had a hamstring that he did in the under-21s tournament in the summer. So he's in the last stages of rehabilitation. So I think he'll start getting it. I mean, if we'd still been in the League Cup this week, I think he would have played this week.
Minutes in the League Cup, that's not exactly a shining light. Who are we going to go for next? Victor Wanyama's a candidate, maybe. Ben Davies has had a very, very poor season.
Well, Ben Davies has been injured as well, and actually when he's come in, he's looked all right. Wanyama, I think, I'm realising as we go through this that there's going to be a lot of movement. Wanyama, again, there's something about our defensive midfielders, they can't trap a ball. When he comes on, he's lost everything. Apparently he's got quite a terrible knee injury, which is stopping people coming in to buy him. So he's just kind of collecting his pay at the moment. I'd have him down here with Eric Dyer, with them together, for not being able to trap the ball at the moment.
So both on the same line, Eric Dyer. So that's not a very, very good sign. You push your fullbacks high, your defensive midfielders are near the worst, and also one of your fullbacks is as well not great.
Exactly, and I've noticed we haven't got Ndombele on here as well.
So we spoke about defensive midfielders, your Wanyamas, your Eric Dyers. Now it's got to be the summer signing, Ndombele. For me, he's up there at the top.
So I think he's done well, and I think it's good we're talking about him whilst talking about the other two defensive midfielders, because I actually think we've got an issue, which is Ndombele and Sissoko are kind of mainstays in the first team now.
Yeah.
but as well as Winks in a way. But none of them for me are classic defensive midfielders.
I agree with that.
At each point, one of them, or sometimes two of them, are being asked to do a role that isn't natural to them. Now, it's not as bad as when we used to play Sissoko out wide. He can't play out wide. Yeah. He is good now. He's playing central midfield. But I think what we need to do is find the perfect balance in that central midfield. I'll agree that Ndombele has started well. I think in a year's time, he'll be a really top player. It'll take him a bit longer.
I think, he's won the most tackles for Spurs this season. Yeah. He's been directly involved in a goal every 150 minutes. It's pretty decent, around 150 minutes. It's good for a central midfield. I thought you lost a lot when he came off the pitch against Bayern Munich. He was subbed off when you were 4-2 down. Eventually that went 7-2. I think he's been one of your best players this season.
He has. I think there's a fitness issue, though.
That's the big one. He can't get over 60 minutes, 70 minutes.
And also, he look. I know it shouldn't really matter, but the way he looks, and as knackered as he looks, it almost, I imagine if you're an opposition player and you see that, it draws you on a little bit. So I think you're right. He struggles to get past 60 minutes. That's the only reason why I wouldn't say he's been top,
but maybe like top 25%.
And Sissoko, he's kind of almost getting beyond the cult figure status. I like him. I don't think he's a good enough first team player for us to really start pushing again for top 2, top 3. But he's really improved, and he's a workhorse. He does.
Yeah,
really
again,
well.
I think it would have been nice to see him maybe committed at right back at the start of the season. Again, that was an issue for Spurs, not really a player there. But again, he does his best work, as you mentioned, as sort of a shuttling defensive midfielder, a central midfielder goes out and works hard.
For me, and a lot of Spurs fans agree with you and think he should have been playing right back. But for me, whenever I see him out wide, he runs in straight lines, and he doesn't know how to kind of work the channels very well, and he's not a natural defender. So it seems like a good idea, but for me, it's not right.
So
I'd say we mentioned Ben Davies.
Yeah,
he's just been injured, so I'd probably have him here below Sanchez, but only on the basis he hasn't really got on. When he has got on, he's done all right.
So Walker-Peters, another fullback. It's been pretty decent in terms of progressing the ball at his feet. I just don't think he's, obviously, for namesake, Kyle Walker is just another massive level ahead of him.
Yeah.
Whether Walker-Peters can ever get there, I'm not too sure. Form of this season, considering Spurs is a bit of the shoddy defence, the goals they've been conceded from crosses. You'd expect your fullbacks to be the players blocking those crosses and stopping that problem.
He only got a chance for the first 2 or 3 games, though, and then Aurier came in. I think something's happened behind the scenes with him and Pochettino, because he's not been nearly as bad as Aurier. No way.
So definitely above Aurier, above Gazzaniga?
I'd have him just here above Sanchez as well. Yeah. Below Gazzaniga on the base. Gazzaniga did have that great game, and he hasn't thrown any in when we used to.
Exactly. Goalkeepers are having a bit of problems this season.
We're going to have to bring Lo Celso somewhere down here as well, just because he hasn't really played.
Yeah,
but
Lo Celso, what a player.
Talented. He looks like he's got it.
Again, Lo Celso would be Ndombele if Pochettino believed that tactically he was ready. Maybe where we're going to put him above. Maybe just above Ben Davies.
Just slide him in here.
Yeah, just that'll do. So now we're kind of on to the bigger Spurs players, the players that kind of have been doing a bit of damage. We've got to talk about Harry Winks, because personally, not a fan.
Okay, talk to me.
So first up, stats in the Premier League. Harry Winks has been dual passed more than any other Spurs player this season. In defensive midfield, as you mentioned, might not be his natural role, but he's getting beat. City game. I think it was the second goal that the third goal City scored. There's a cutback to the edge of the box. Harry Winks should be in the position to block that pass out. He's basically sat on the edge of the box, edge of the D, tactically very, very poor. He frustrates me on the ball sometimes, far too square, not progressive enough. I think there's a player in there. I just think, like you mentioned, what is his position? Yeah. Because he's not holding midfielder for sure.
I think this is exactly what I was talking about. He needs protection so he can be the pivot, and he can really work that. I think the fans, a lot of the time in the stadium, feel the same way you do. So whenever he makes a sideways pass, they get on his back a little bit. And it's kind of self-perpetuating, because then he doesn't want to lose the ball, so he's not making those advanced passes through the lines. I think he's a great player. I think he will prove to be. Whenever he plays for England as well, I'm just like, what a fantastic player. I just think he's not. I know what you mean about him getting beat. He's not the quickest. So
it reminds me a lot of Jorginho last season. I think Jorginho sorted out the defensive side of his game in the Premier League now. He's making the tackles in that DM area. Winks just isn't.
Yeah.
I thought he was atrocious in the Champions League final. Awful performance. Oh. One of the reasons why Liverpool caught you with their press, because it played into Harry Winks, and Harry Winks were playing square passes to players into the press.
I will say, on his behalf, he'd been injured, and that was his first game back, as it was with Kane. So, that's Pochettino's fault.
Excuses, Barnaby. It's the Champions League final.
Yeah, I mean, we're
going to put him.
Just been in the Champions League final. Thank you.
Are we just going to put him above Gazzaniga then?
Let's keep him in there just for ease.
Yeah,
I don't think he's as bad as has been as bad as you do, but I'm willing to take your statistical knowledge. Yeah,
that's
on the
fine.
chin.
That's fine. So Ali Eriksen. Got to talk about those guys.
We need to talk about Dele. Obviously, at the weekend, the Sky pundits went absolutely balls deep on Dele Alli. He's been injured as well. We've had a lot of injuries. He's literally just came back 2 games ago. I don't think you can judge people like that. The problem that Dele has is that he is that player who will be anonymous for 70 minutes and then score an absolutely brilliant and, more importantly, a winning goal a lot of the time. And that, I think, is why Poch keeps him on the pitch a lot of the time. He needs games as well, though. Yeah. So, I'd probably have him somewhere down here. I can't really put him anywhere further up more than Davis or Lo Celso. But I think he will come good. And I don't know. I don't know what it is. Everyone going in on him about
confidence,
about his stuff off the pitch. His clothing line and stuff. It's got nothing to do with it. He's been injured. He's a good player. He's a good trainer, and he'll come good again.
I think one of the moments that jumps out for me for Dele Alli was that Bayern Munich game, played over the top. Just didn't quite have the confidence to finish it up. I think a form Dele Alli would just hit it early, probably go in. Yeah. But the stats are a little bit worrying in terms of like direct involvement in shots. It's probably half of much as he's contributed when he's had his best season. So a little bit of an issue, but I believe in him as a young player. I think he's a wonderful talent.
What is he? He's 23. His stats for a 23-year-old.
Ridiculous. He outscores Gerrard, Lampard and Paul Scholes at that age. But it's him getting to a level where he's back to that top level.
Yeah. But also he's playing in a team that are devoid of confidence at the moment. So I feel like he's getting blamed for a lot of this stuff. We'll come on to Harry Kane.
Talking about the blame game, Christian Eriksen created the most big chances for Spurs this season, yet can't get on the pitch. But he falls into the bracket of Alderweireld, Vertonghen, and maybe someone like a Danny Rose, where they are. Are they here? Are they there?
Yeah.
Like again, you think of the Villa game this season, right? Comes off the pitch, completely changes the game. Involved in every single one of your goals to win that 3-1. But at the same time, there's other games where he doesn't look like he can be arsed running. Yeah. After being the last season and the season before, most top distance covered most of the time, Christian Eriksen. Impressive for a playmaker, very impressive, but that's not him this season.
I think this is a perfect example of I've said it a few times, but I think there's stuff going on under the surface at Spurs that we don't know about because if you see the whole team's running stats, it's so far down from what it's been the last 3 or 4 seasons. Has this Amazon documentary had an effect on them? Do they want cameras in the dressing room? The fact that so many of them run their contracts down, they're all being underpaid compared. They go off on the international break, they find out what their peers are earning.
And are they being underpaid, or do Spurs have a good wage structure and the rest of the Premier League doesn't?
I think both. I think both. I love the way Daniel Levy runs the club, and I'll get abuse for that, but I do. They've got a great bonus structure. It's worked really well until the moment it hasn't, which is when the contracts are running down, and they know, Alderweireld and Vertonghen and Eriksen know that their next contract is going to be huge compared to what they're on now. And
where's he going though? Where are we putting him in?
I'd have him down here with Davis as well. I've stuck up for Eriksen for years. I think he's been our best player, and I also think he's the one that we're going to miss the most. Yeah. But the reality is we're missing him now because he's not really playing that well, and the fans are getting on his back as well. So that's why I think, will Lo Celso start coming in for him now that he's fit again? It'd be interesting to see how that works.
I'd say so for sure. Lo Celso is pretty much statistically the same as Christian Eriksen as a player. Right, out of these three,
let's go Moura, because Moura's had
over Lamela?
Well, I'm just saying I think we need to put Moura quite low because he hasn't really got on the pitch. Pochettino, for some reason, I think Pochettino sees Moura as someone who can come on late and make the most of the game opening up. When we play against teams who play 11 behind the ball and make it really difficult for us, he struggles. And so he's been on the bench most of the time. I think he's amazing. I think he should be playing every game, but almost we've got too many options. You've got Son, you've got Moura, you've got Eriksen. Lo Celso, when he's fit, Dele Alli plays in that 3 behind the top one as well. So I feel almost like there's a part. Lucas Moura is such a lovely bloke that probably he won't complain each time, and so Poch doesn't really give him a run.
Should have started in the Champions League final. Game would have been very different. Eric Lamela then?
So Lamela has surprised me. He's done all right. So
I can't have him over Ndombele though. I can't do it.
I wouldn't have him over Ndombele. What I can tell you about Lamela is always put money on him to get carded every game. I've won loads of money on that over the years. He's a workhorse, but he can't tackle. But he's had a good start to the season. He scored more goals than I thought he would. He sets them up. You cannot doubt with Eric Lamela, he's going to give you 110% every game. And even in a season where we've been poor, he's done all right, I think.
So Eric Lamela, where are we going to put him? Under Ndombele, above Ndombele, above Sissoko?
I would have him above Sissoko. I think Ndombele just excites me a bit more. So Lamela, let's keep him down there. But yeah, I've been surprised at how well he's done this season. And also considering he came back from, I think, double hip surgery. Not many players come back from that. He's done well.
It's a bad one. So we've got Heung-min Son and Harry Kane as the best player for Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah,
start me with one of them, whichever one you want to start with.
So I want to talk about Harry Kane. I think in Harry Kane we got one of the top 3 strikers in Europe, right?
Yeah.
We don't make him any chances, and he's still scoring goals.
Yeah.
He still scores goals. He makes his own chances. We don't get any crosses into him. I mean, when he played for England the other day, and he's, for me, for England, he's the best number 10, the best number 9, and at times the best number 8.
But he has been for Spurs. He's not. That's the thing. I think the big thing with Spurs is not getting Harry Kane the ball enough.
Exactly.
I think he's a player that really excels when he gets the ball. Look, he's still scoring a goal every 127 minutes this year. 4th top scorer in the Premier League. Still there. Heung-min Son leads Spurs for dribbles, leads Spurs for shots, which is an interesting one. And also as one of the players that's got over an assist. You'll talk about a devoid of creativity.
Well, I think Kane is missing out because Eriksen's dropped off.
Yes.
They had such an amazing chemistry.
Almost telepathic.
And Dele Alli as well. The 3 of them, some of the goals we were scoring two seasons ago, just the 3 of them kind of taking the mickey out of people. But once the creativity is gone, Kane's not getting as many chances. And for the first time this season, I look at Harry Kane, I'm like, actually, if I were him, I'd be wavering at the moment on his future. Because if he played
for Manchester United transfer.
If he played for Man City, actually, is what I'd say. If they splashed out at some point to replace Aguero when he gets a bit older, I think he'd score 60 goals in a season. I honestly do. They'd make him so many chances.
So that puts Kane to the top, Son number 2?
I think Kane at the top just because he's scoring despite not getting any chances. And Sonny I just love. For me, if Sonny played for pretty much any other, if he played for Real Madrid or Barcelona, everyone would rave about him. He's underrated, he's underappreciated, he's a fantastic direct player.
I think the interesting side with Son as well is he came to Spurs first season directly involved in 5 goals in 28 Premier League games, but the adjustment period under Pochettino shows that what the output you might get from Lo Celso, what you might get from someone like a Sessegnon is pretty incredible with the coaching, but are you going to keep Poch? Probably not. But Harry Kane number 1, Son number 2. Worst players have got Sergio Aurier, Oliver Skipp, Hugo Lloris. Is there anyone that we want to change?
I mean, looking at it now, Walker Peters looks a bit high considering he hasn't played a lot, but maybe that just shows how poor Spurs have been, that someone who only played 3 games at the start, I'm kind of wondering why you're not getting more opportunities. Ben Davies, it feels a bit unfair on him, but that's just because he hasn't played enough games. And I don't think Alderweireld, for instance, has been as bad as that. But the fact that he's not signing a contract,
So you're not even taking form into consideration. You just
I'm taking form
because
into
he's not signed. Right, I think we should put him up the list then. I think we should put him up to maybe above Sanchez because Sanchez has been pretty woeful when he's played. Alderweireld has been, he's been good to a point.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, listen, when you're a fan, as you well know, your emotional attachment to things affects your opinion, but. Look, maybe let's do this again in 6 months' time, and I hope that we'll have turned the corner, similar to how United have, and we can start talking in more hallowed terms.
If you were looking down the line, I'd expect Dele Alli and Lo Celso to be top 4 players for Spurs.
Yeah, I'd hope so.
100%. Well, thanks for watching, guys. That is our opinions ranking Spurs from worst to best in the squad that have played Premier League minutes this season. Thanks to Barnaby for joining me from Spurverts.
Go to Spurverts on Instagram.
Go and check them out 100%. And if you want us to do your club next, get into the comments below. Of course, like the video, subscribe if you're new to the Squawka YouTube channel, and we will catch you next time.